Sarah was a young girl who worked in a small restaurant. She wore old shoes and simple clothes because she didn't have much money. Every day she served food with a smile, even when she was tired. Some people were kind to her, but many laughed at her. They thought she was not important. Sarah never said anything bad back. She only whispered to herself, "One day, I will change my life." She believed deep in her heart that being poor today did not mean poor forever, but no one else believed her. They only saw a weak, poor waitress. They did not know her dreams were bigger than their laughter. One afternoon, the restaurant was busy. A group of rich customers sat at a table, laughing loudly. When Sarah walked to serve them, one customer whispered, "Look at her shoes, so old." Another said, "She can't even afford nice clothes." Even Mr. David, the owner of the restaurant, joined their laughter. He said, "Sarah, maybe if you work here forever, you can buy new shoes in 10 years. Everyone laughed harder. Sarah's face turned red, but she stayed quiet. Her hands were shaking as she placed the plates. Inside her heart, she felt broken. That moment, she promised herself, "One day, these people will never laugh at me again." After work, Sarah walked home slowly. She lived in a small room with broken furniture. Still, she dreamed of something bigger. She wanted to open her own restaurant where people were kind, food was tasty, and no one was laughed at. She wrote her dreams in a notebook every night. Step 1, save money. Step 2, learn cooking. Step 3, never give up. She smiled while writing, even though she had only a few coins in her bag. Her friends told her, "Sarah, you're just a waitress. You can't be an owner." But Sarah whispered, "Wait and see." Her dream gave her strength to face another day. The next morning, Sarah went back to work. She remembered the laughter but did not let it stop her. Instead, she looked closely at how the restaurant worked. She noticed how food was cooked, how customers were treated, and how money was counted. "Every mistake Mr. David made," she wrote in her mind. "One day this knowledge will help me," she thought. Whenever customers were rude, she stayed patient. She believed every bad day was teaching her something. Sarah didn't have money, but she had a sharp mind and a strong heart. She was learning from pain, step by step, preparing for her future in silence. One rainy evening, an old man came into the restaurant. His clothes were wet and he looked tired. The other waiters ignored him because he looked poor. But Sarah quickly gave him a warm seat and hot soup. She smiled kindly and said, "Don't worry, sir, you're safe here." The old man thanked her and said, "You have a kind heart. Not many people care like you." He left quietly, but his eyes showed respect for Sarah. She didn't know that this stranger was not just anyone. He would play a big part in her future. But for now, she only felt happy for helping someone in need. The next day, Mr. David saw Sarah talking to herself while cleaning. "What are you mumbling?" he asked. Sarah smiled and said, "I was dreaming that one day I might own a restaurant." Mr. David laughed so loudly that even the cooks stopped working. "You own a restaurant? Don't joke, Sarah. You can't even buy better shoes. You'll always stay poor." His words cut her heart like a knife. Sarah stayed silent, but her eyes filled with tears. That night she told herself, "I will prove him wrong. He will see that dreams are stronger than insults." The cruel words became her biggest motivation to succeed. To save more money, Sarah decided to work harder. She took a second job cleaning houses at night. It was very tiring. She worked in the restaurant all day and cleaned houses after. Sometimes her hands had blisters and her legs hurt badly. But she never gave up. She whispered, "Every coin I save will take me closer to my dream." While her friends spent money on clothes or fun, Sarah saved every penny. She didn't buy new shoes. She didn't buy sweets. She only saved. It was hard, but every day her little savings grew bigger. Slowly, her dream started to feel closer. Sarah knew saving money was not enough. She had to become a great cook. At night, after cleaning houses, she cooked in her small kitchen. She tried new recipes, mixing spices and flavors. Sometimes food tasted bad, but she never stopped trying. She read old cookbooks and watched free videos in the library. She even tested her food on her neighbors who said, "Sarah, this tastes amazing." Their words gave her confidence. She dreamed of a restaurant where people would smile after every bite. Her cooking skills improved day by day. Sarah was building the secret tools for her success, hard work and talent. Back at work, things were not going well. Mr. David was careless with money. He spent too much on parties and ignored customers' complaints. The food became worse and many people stopped coming. Sarah noticed everything. She wanted to help, but whenever she gave ideas, Mr. David said, "Stay quiet. You're just a waitress." Secretly, Sarah thought, "One day, you'll regret ignoring me." She continued working quietly, but inside she knew the restaurant was getting weaker every day. Instead of feeling sad, she felt hope. Because she knew when the time was right, she could make it better. One evening, the same old man returned to the restaurant. He ordered food again, but the taste was bad this time. He frowned and asked Sarah, "What happened?" "The food used to taste better when you cooked it," Sarah explained softly. "The owner doesn't care much anymore." The old man looked at her and said, "You care more than the owner. Remember, caring makes a difference." He gave her a small note before leaving. When Sarah opened it, she was shocked. It was a business card with his name, Mr. Henry, a well-known investor. Her heart beat fast. Maybe her dream was closer than she thought. Sarah kept the card safe. One day after work, she called the number. Mr. Henry answered kindly and invited her to meet. They sat in a small cafe, and Sarah told him her story, how people laughed at her, how she worked 2 jobs, and how she dreamed of owning a restaurant. Mr. Henry listened carefully. Then he said, "I can see fire in your eyes. You remind me of myself when I was young. If you're ready to work hard, I will help you." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, someone believed in her dream. Mr. Henry did not give her a big gift. Instead, he offered a small loan with kind advice. "Use this wisely, Sarah. Don't waste a single coin," Sarah promised with all her heart. She used part of the money to buy better ingredients for practice. She also attended a small cooking class to sharpen her skills. Every day she became better and better. She even started selling homemade food to neighbors who happily paid her. With each sale, she saved more money. Slowly, Sarah started to believe that her dream was not far away. She felt hope shining brighter than ever. Back at the restaurant, things got worse. Customers stopped coming because food was bad and service was rude. Mr. David shouted at his workers, but it was his own fault. Bills piled up and soon he had no money to pay. Sarah heard him yelling, "I might have to sell this place." Deep inside, her heart jumped. She thought, "This is the chance I was waiting for." But she didn't show her excitement. She continued working as if nothing was happening. Quietly, she prepared herself for the biggest step of her life. The moment was coming closer, and she was ready. One night after closing, Mr. David sat with his head in his hands. Sarah walked carefully and said, "Sir, if you ever want to sell this place, please think of me." Mr. David laughed. "You? Buy my restaurant? Don't be silly!" Sarah looked into his eyes and said calmly, "I'm serious." Mr. David shook his head, but secretly he knew he had no choice. A few weeks later, when he had no money left, he called Sarah and said, "If you can pay, it's yours." Sarah's hand shook as she called Mr. Henry. "The time has come," she whispered. Mr. Henry met Sarah again. She explained the situation. Mr. Henry smiled and said, "Sarah, you are ready. I will invest with you, but you must work harder than ever," Sarah promised. Together they signed papers. The restaurant that once laughed at Sarah now had a new name on its papers, Sarah's. She couldn't believe it. Tears rolled down her face. She remembered all the insults, all the laughter, and all the pain. But now she was not just a waitress. She was the new owner. Her dream had finally begun to shine bright like the morning sun. Sarah walked into the restaurant, not as a waitress, but as the boss. The workers were shocked. Mr. David had already left, angry and bitter. Sarah gathered the staff and said, "From today, things will change. We will treat every customer with respect. No one will be laughed at here." Some staff doubted her, but she worked harder than anyone else. She cooked with love, cleaned tables, and greeted customers. Slowly, people noticed the change. Smiles returned, and laughter was now full of joy, not insults. Sarah felt proud. Her dream was no longer a secret. It was real. At first, things were not easy. The restaurant needed repairs. Sarah had to spend money carefully. Some days, only a few customers came, but she did not give up. She cooked delicious meals and treated everyone with kindness. Slowly, word spread. People started saying, "Go to Sarah's place, the food is amazing and the service is warm." Every day, more customers arrived. Sarah worked from morning till night, but she felt happy. Her dream was alive, and it was growing stronger each day. She had turned her pain into power. The laughter of yesterday had turned into applause. One evening, the same group of rich customers who once laughed at Sarah walked in. They did not know she owned the restaurant now. They ordered food and were amazed. "This is delicious," one said. Another whispered, "This place has changed so much." Finally, Sarah walked to their table. "Hello, do you remember me?" she asked with a smile. They looked shocked. "You're the waitress!" Sarah smiled again and said, "Not anymore. I own this restaurant now." Their mouths dropped open. Silence filled the table. This was the moment Sarah had dreamed about. The moment when laughter turned into respect. To celebrate her success, Sarah organized a special dinner for everyone in the community. She invited poor families, neighbors, and even strangers. She gave them free food and gifts. "This restaurant is not just for money," she said. "It's for kindness." People clapped and cheered for her. Mr. Henry was proud. Even the workers felt happy, knowing they worked for someone who cared. Sarah looked around and saw smiling faces. Tears came to her eyes. The poor waitress who was once laughed at was now a respected owner, spreading love and kindness through her restaurant. Sarah stood outside her restaurant looking at the glowing sign with her name. She remembered the pain, the insults, the laughter, and the long nights of work. But she also remembered her promise, never give up. Now she was living her dream. Mr. David walked past, shocked to see the busy restaurant. The rich customers who once laughed now came back with respect. Sarah smiled and whispered, "Dreams do come true." Her story was proof that with hard work, courage, and kindness, even a poor waitress could rise and shine brighter than anyone ever expected. The end was only the beginning. Please like and subscribe for more interesting videos.